Hello, worlds. Hello, worlds. Yes. Well, do you remember these two people? Yes. Well, Kamala Harris, who was the former vice president, who ran for president while a sitting president was on duty running for re-election, is what this segment is going to be about. Uh, it's going to be about the shocking reason Kamala says Biden was a mistake. As you now know, Kamala Harris has written a memoir, or diary, I suppose, stating the 107 days she spent running for presidency during Biden's re-election. Stay tuned for the shocking reason. Take a look, take a listen, subscribe.
Harris, her new book about her 2024 run for the presidency is called 107 Days. It's out tomorrow. Madam Vice President, I have to ask you about the part of your book that has people most upset thus far, which is some of your writing about the decision around the president abandoning his re-election campaign, the timing there and how it was handled. You say in part, page 46, it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Whose decision should that have been? How should that decision have been made?
So when I write this, it's because I realize that I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on. Which is, and so when I talk about the recklessness, as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. There was so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, you know, the where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving.
If you said to President Biden that you did not think he should run again.
Yeah, or even that he should question whether it's a good idea. But I think that, you know, one of the reasons I wrote this book, Rachel, is there are actually a number of reasons. One is that it is unprecedented, right? To your point of what you said in your opening, we had a president of the United States running for re-election, 3.5 months from the election, decides not to run. The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century. And there was so much about those 107 days that century. And there was so much about those 107 days that, for me, and this is really a behind-the-scenes look at those 107 days, was about seeing people who seemingly had nothing in common coming together by the thousands with a level of optimism and, dare I say, joy about the possibilities for America. And I hope to remind people about that light that people brought to it, and to remind people that that light is still there. And we can't let that be extinguished by an election or the individual who's in the office right now. Because to the point of all those folks who got out and protest about the Kimmel suspension.
And about everything else that people have protested.
Right. In the variety of ways, whether it be going to a protest or being, you know, with their pocketbook or getting engaged in local and state and federal elections, they'll make a difference. And they've made a difference. And I guess the last point is that we've got to really remember that this person who's in the White House promised a whole lot of people who supported him and voted for him that he would do one thing, which is bring down costs and prices. And he lied to them. And we need to remember that as we move forward with the next series of elections. The midterms are around the corner, that it's not just about him by himself. There were others around him who perpetuated that same promise and have not followed through. They're about to go into negotiations around the continuing resolution, the budget. And I know that leaders Schumer and Jeffries are going to meet with the president, I think in the Oval Office. And good for them to go there and ask Donald Trump, the president of the United States, to justify why he is proposing to cut Medicaid, why he is willing to shut down the government for the sake of putting on the backs of working people the tax cut he gave to the richest people in America.
Do you think that Democrats should vote to allow the government to shut down in order to try to extract concessions from Trump on these matters?
It won't be the Democrats who are shutting it down. It'll be the Republicans. The Democrats are doing the job that any elected leader should do, which is to say, we're not going to do the bidding of the president of the United States at the sacrifice of our constituents' health care. Negotiate.
Had Kamala taken her own advice, she might have won the election. However, the fact that she endorsed illegal immigrants over the citizens, the legal citizens of the United States of America, is the reason why she lost. She was clearly an illegal immigrant supporter, and the fact that she can't even answer the question of whether or not who she supports clearly shows, again, her character. Again, take your own advice, Kamala. Next time, if you should ever think about running ever again.
There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.